And we're back once again, only on It's After Hours, only on Full Swap Radio. And join me here on the line, this young lady here. Well, a lot of big things are going on as she is jumped into the industry. She's made a big splash, and a lot of big things are going on here. I give you once again the beautiful, the lovely, the talented. I give you Miss Wrenn Divine. So, Wrenn, let's ask a big question here.
Oh,
What got you into
thank
OnlyFans?
you.
What was the reason behind you getting on to OnlyFans and content creating in the first place?
So actually what how I got into this was it started out as a confidence thing. So I actually started an Instagram page first, before I even started OnlyFans. Actually, I was in camming first, believe it or not. And I wasn't even really looking to make any money. But once I got this Instagram page started, I just kind of fell into it. Well, then, of course, my ex quit paying child support, and at this point, I only had one job. Usually, I was working three. And I didn't want to have to leave the house to get a second job. So that's when the camming kind of came into play. And it was just a lot of work for pennies, pretty much. So that's kind of when I just started Googling and ended up finding OnlyFans. And it's just kind of blossomed from there. Yeah, I love my job.
Everybody loves their job, but how tough is it for you in terms of, you know, you're setting up, the lighting, the camera work, the social media? Like, how much work goes into doing the clips themselves?
Oh my gosh. So much work. So much work. I mean, if this tells you I have two phones, I'm about to have to get a third. um, it's not necessarily the content. Of course, the content is only a small percentage of it. But I actually work from the time I get up. It's usually about 6:30 every morning. Most days I don't go to bed until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, because going into this, I had to really get smart about things, about lighting, about marketing myself. I didn't know anything about marketing until I started doing this. So yeah, I spent a lot of time doing this, but I love it though. I mean, I can't get this time back with my kids, this thing. So a lot of work goes into it. It's not just post a picture and just hope it works out. You've got multiple social medias and everything else in between.
Let's start out with the cameras. How do you go about going into this? Like, how do you go about like getting the kind of
How do
camera?
you go about
Is it
not just getting
4K?
it,
Is it
but landing on the
digital?
fly ball?
Multiple cameras? Like, how do you
Oh, YouTube.
basically?
Lots of YouTube. Lots of YouTube. And it's mainly about really just doing your research and finding out pretty much it's really in this, it's trial and error and what works. And just trying out different positions. Reddit is really great. Yeah, I do a lot of market research is what I call it.
Now you got to also do the collaborations, and that's nerve wracking. So for you, how do you find the right person? Because you got to do all this, research. You go, vibe with people, all that stuff. How did you go about take me to your first collaboration? Like, how did you find the right person, the
How did you
vibe,
find
all of
the
that?
right
Like,
person vibe? Oh, okay. So when it comes to that and finding the right person, my very first collab was a really big name. And it was Pink Marie Kelly. And I thought she was fake. whenever she wrote me on Instagram, she was like, I really want to get together with you. And I was like, are you for real? Like, you've got to be fake. And she wasn't. And we ended up going. And so for me, when it comes to collabs, it's all about the connection, because I feel like even if you have some type of connection, it's going to make for amazing content. If you don't click with that person, for this is just me, I'm not speaking for everybody, but for myself, if you don't have some type of connection, flirtiness, things like that, it's not going to show on camera. So, yeah, it's all about finding that connection and what works.
Now, Pick Marie's awesome, but she also loves having women and being with women. So, did that make it easier for you having an older woman
Oh
who
my
actually
gosh, don't you
knew, like,
love her? Oh,
yeah?
she's the best.
So, did it help having her like know how to touch you, how to work with you, how to make basically turn you on,
Yeah,
not just
so
like
what we usually talk about is like boundaries and all of that. And I love women as well. And for me, it's really easy to make content with women who are into women as well. I have been with women who are just, quote unquote, gay for pay, and that's perfectly okay. But it's it's not necessarily really being about, to me, age isn't a issue at all. It's all about how you feel. And there again, it's all about the connection. So yeah.
you talked about social media and you have a Twitter, you have an OnlyFans, you have a ManyVids, you have all these accounts, and knowing and you know how to market yourself. So I'm curious for you is how much did she help? Because she's a master of that. She knows marketing. She knows basically how to take care of things here. How much did it help you that she knew like how to market yourself,
Um,
how to do all
I
this?
mean, she's kind of given me some pointers, but when it comes to social media, what works for one creator doesn't necessarily work for every other creator. Like for me, it's, all about growing organically and what is my niche and what I'm into. Um, and, like going out on the boat or, fishing or hunting, things like that with, you know, Chelsea, or excuse me, Pink Marie Kelly. Of course, she goes by Chelsea Marie online too. Um, hers is all about being funny and being herself and things like that. But when it comes to finding a creator and marketing and all that, it's not necessarily, um, how would you say, we all help each other out. But she's given me some pointers, but it's not necessarily like her teaching me everything, if that makes sense.
This part is figuring out your brand, like who you are, what's going on, how I'm going to present myself, doing all of this here.
Yes.
For you, how did you build your brand? And how do you know who you want to be as a performer and a brand so that you could market yourself to other people? Because that's the biggest trick involved, figuring out your brand.
Is this That is literally the biggest thing in this, is because you don't want to be like every other person that's out there. And I feel like building your brand is pretty much about finding yourself. And in a lot of this, I know this sounds crazy, but it really helps you find yourself as a person. I've really grown as a person since starting this. And it's just like with my brand, I'm just the girl next door, but I also have a naughty side. When people look at me, they're like, oh, you look so sweet and innocent. But then they find out that, I'm bisexual, I love women, and, I love to have fun. Um, so really building your brand is just pretty much becoming your own person. But also, I grew up not wanting to be like everybody else. So I guess that's what sets me apart, is I don't want to be like every other creator that's out there,
Have some videos. Those are the big sellers. And I'm guessing you've gotten your share of crazy custom videos. You've had to put a lot of work into them. Give me the craziest custom video you had to do, and how much time and effort goes into the videos, which are big money for somebody like yourself.
Um, I do sell customs. Um, they aren't my bread and butter. But probably the craziest one I've done, which was probably my favorite to do, was giantess fetish, or kink, or whichever you want to call it. And I had to carry this guy around in my pocket all day. And it's so funny because I didn't even have to get naked. And it was a lot of fun. I just had to carry him around in my pocket and act like I was sitting on him. But sometimes I really overthink customs way too much. Like I really should not overthink them the way I do, but I do. Um, but I love doing them though when I do get them. So yeah, and there are some creators that is literally all they do is customs, and that's wonderful. I wish I could do more of them. But yeah.
So you have a many vids, you have an OnlyFans, you have a Fansly, of course, and you always want to keep content, and you always want to basically make sure you are not putting out too much content. How do you balance that? Like, how tough is it making sure that all your sites have enough content, but you're not overdoing it and not just giving out too much so that people just get overwhelmed by all the content?
Yeah, so you cannot get overwhelmed. So the way I do, I just started this actually, is I dedicate one day to each platform. Like I'm gonna make content for OF or Fansly or MiniVids, because there's only so much that you can do on OnlyFans. But I dedicate days, but see, with myself, it's hard because I am a real mom. And I am actually, like, next week, I'm not going to have any kids at the house. So I'm going to literally have to spend my whole week making content, which is fine. It's totally okay. But yeah, so I actually I have a notes tab in my phone, and I actually keep a list of what content I need to do. And then, I have Dropbox that's completely organized of like content I've already made. Like you have to be so organized doing this, because if not, you will get so overwhelmed and then you'll just crash and burn.
As I said, you're a small business owner, you're trying to balance all of us here. Both of them are 24/7 jobs. So for you, how do you balance it? How do you make sure that, one doesn't suffer because of the other?
It's so hard. It's such a hard balancing act. October will be 4 years that I've been doing this, and I've been doing this 3 years full time. And nobody wrote a book on being a creator and being a parent. It's very hard because there's that fine line of keeping everything. I still keep a lot private that I don't want people to know. So being a small business owner and being a mom, especially in this industry, is very hard and it's very unconventional. But I honestly could not get this time back with my kids. So that's why a lot of these hours that I do dedicate to my business, especially marketing and all that, is after they go to bed or after they're, going to do something else, because, I'm still on my phone when they're around, but not very much. I try to be very present to them.
As a mom, you're trying to protect your kids. So social media is a brutal place. You're trying to make sure they don't find out what you're doing, but you're trying to find out how to let them know, because eventually people will find out. So for you, how do you protect your kids in general, just from finding out what you do?
Well, So,
Because that's the toughest
okay,
part.
my kids know what I do. Um, Only because it is the toughest part. It's very tough. My kids do know what I do. Only because unfortunately, my ex told my son. Um, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. My daughter was actually bullied at school too because one of her friends found my TikTok. And if you're looking for it, you're gonna find it. And when it comes to protecting my kids, that's why I don't show them on the internet. My daughter thinks it's so cool that like I have a huge following on Instagram, and that's really all about like where I go into detail about it, if that makes sense. Like my daughter has met other creators, but not in that setting because meeting a lot of these creators, they're the most genuine people you will ever meet. And you can protect your kids while being in this industry, but also you don't want to overstep and you don't want to have to include them in a lot because there is a lot that can happen. So when it comes to protecting my kids and living in a small town at that, I live in a very small town. If you're looking for it, you're gonna find it. But don't make my kids miserable because you're upset that I do what I do. Does that make sense?
Everybody hates having to talk with the kids, explaining what you do and everything. And as you said, your husband, unfortunately, told your son, and your daughter has gotten bullied. So how tough was it for you having to talk and then worrying about what they would think about what you do and who you are? Because everybody has that worry, no matter if you're in a porn star, be content creator. How tough was it for you having that and thinking, okay, what's the worst can happen?
Um, it was really tough, but so let me just say this. I didn't have a very good childhood, and I always said that I was going to be the mom that I always wanted. And with that, it means that I want to be there for everything, as well as I want to be very honest with my kids. And honesty, as in, I'm going to talk, I talk to them. I did talk to them about what I do for a living, but I didn't really go into detail. But my kids are very proud of me. Because of this job, I've been able to grow a business. Now I've started other side hustles because of it, like actually my dream stuff that I get to do. And so they see that, and just it's pretty much all about being open and honest with your kids. Let's be real, everybody has sex. We all got here somehow. But you don't want to throw it. You also don't want to throw it in their face, but you also don't want to keep them completely sheltered. So, yeah, I want to try to be more open in this industry about being a parent because it's hard. It's very hard. And I think more people need to talk about it.
You said you have side hustles. So what are your other side hustles? And for you, what's the best part about being a content creator? Because there's so many things I'm guessing you enjoy about it. So for you, what is the best part? And what else are you doing besides just content creating?
The best part about being a content creator is having my own schedule. I love having my own schedule. It's so great. I work all the time. um, but other side hustles, believe it or not, I'm a crazy plant lady. And I actually want to have a nursery of exotic tropical plants. So, yeah, I've actually started my little side hustle of plants.
So what's your passion? Because it sounds like the content creating is fun, but the planting and the gardening is your true passion. So what is your passion in terms of what you enjoy doing the most?
Um, honestly, I mean both. I love all aspects of content creating, and I love incorporating like my outdoor stuff because my passions honestly are living, just living, and just really living my best life, whether it be, on the boat or traveling or, you know, something I haven't really talked about a whole lot is I was a teen mom. I had my son at 17, got pregnant when I was 16. So now, like, being able to really live my life and to pretty much do all kinds of really cool things because of content creating and doing this.
So who's on the wish list? Because I'm guessing you want to do a lot of collaborating. You want to go to conventions. You want to shoot with other people. So who's on the wish list for other collaborators? And are you planning to do more traveling so that you can meet these people in like Vegas,
Who's on your wish list for
Florida, Los Angeles?
collaboration?
Because I'm guessing there's a lot of people that are on your wish list for like shooting content.
Um, okay. So let's see. On my wish list, there's so many people on my wish list. So many people. So I actually tried to get together with Jessie Love while I was in Denver, but unfortunately our schedules didn't meet. So hopefully next time I'll be able to collaborate with her. But there are so many creators like Michelle Rain, even though I met her in person, we didn't get to make content, unfortunately. And when it comes to your next question about how much goes into planning, there is a lot of planning that goes into collabs. So I'm actually in a travel group, and we usually do 2 collabs a year, big collabs, like 15 or more creators twice a year. And we try to meet in really big cities, and we try to like, rent out places. That way we're all together. And there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, we plan probably 4 months in advance, and there's all about making flyers and okay, who's going to be there and who do I want to make content with? Can I go ahead and like get on a schedule with them? Because I'm the type of person, I have to plan things. Other people that just kind of shoot from the hip, and I can't do that, unfortunately. It gives me anxiety. And I also too,
So
I've never wanted to do any type of mainstream, but I absolutely love the amateur aspect, but also want to go to like Exotica and things like that because I hear it's amazing for networking.
it is, and that's how a lot of people are, get stuff done. So what's the bucket list for you? Like, where are some of the things you want to get done in the next 6 months, next year, whether it's an orgy, whether it's shooting with certain people, going to conventions, like what's on your bucket list?
You really want to know what's on my bucket list? I'm ready to travel. So my plans, I don't know if it'll be within the next year, but I'm planning on buying either a camper or a motorhome, and I'm going to be traveling around to different states and meeting up with different creators in different states, as well as seeing some sites along the way. Like I want to travel all over Florida, and I want to go to all the different springs and swim in them, and I want to go hiking because I love to hike. I want to see different mountains. So when I went to Denver, that was the very first time I flew. So yeah, I have so much on my list I want to do.
The hardest part is always doing too much content or social media, and people go down the rabbit hole. Oh, I have a small job, a perfect job. Next, thing you know, you're working 24 hours a week. So for you, how do you make sure you don't miss out on the birthdays, the friends, the mental health because you're doing too much content? You're shooting too much. You are literally going overboard on the content creating in your business?
So actually I keep a calendar of which I do a really great job about remembering birthdays and stuff, but I'm actually very organized, and I keep a calendar of things that I have planned, whether it be personal or business. So actually when it comes to creating like bulk content and all that, when it comes to too much, I don't think there's any such thing as too much content. But when it comes to my content, I try to do everything in bulk. So I try to do content like in 1 or 2 days. And that way it saves me, for a little while. That way I can be more present, especially if I have like a busy month coming up. And I will go ahead and, get all of that stuff out of the way content wise, so I can focus on personal things because I am a sister, I am an aunt. I have nieces and nephews, so I like to be able to focus my time on them as well as my kids. It's a
So
hard
there you have
balancing
it.
act, but you know what? I think I do a great job of it.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we give you the beautiful, the lovely, the talented. I give you it's Wrenn Divine. Wrenn, before we let you go, where can fans check you out at? Where is the many vids, the Fansly, the Instagram, Twitter, OnlyFans?
You can check me out at wrendivine.com.
It's short, sweet, and to the point. Wrenn Divine, ladies and
That's
gentlemen. Once again,
right.
always on a pleasure. Have you on the show. We come back. A lot more going on here. Only on it's After Hours. Only on Full Swap
Absolutely. I'd
Radio.
love to come